I'll give this another try. So far, so good. Whether I can actually get this up where I can read anything is another matter. Don't mind my legs. I haven't shaved in 20 years. All right. Work, bitch. Sorry, I don't know if there's anybody there because I can't fucking load anything. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Do. Let's see if you're working now. Probably not. 1, 2, 3. Alright, got a 3-second delay. Either way, let's come a little bit closer, shall we? Let's try to come a little bit closer, shall we? You can read along with me, because Lord, I can't read. Welcome to live chat. I don't know what's happening. Did you flip on me, you bastard? Alright. For anybody new to my stream, I do something else besides reading, or besides doing shitty crafting videos in the evenings. I also do shitty reading. So, these are the Matter of books. They're locally published. Murder, mystery, mayhem, and malice from my little town I grew up in. And I'll add this to the playlist, but there's a lot of other stories in here of wonderful little things that have happened over the years in my area, and there's a few of these books around, but not too many. So I decided I would read a few of them just out loud, so at least there's some sort of copy of these in the world besides the few that are just in this area. So today we are going to be going over graves found behind the library, 1971. And maybe, the Demons of Morven Hill, Shelburne County. Maybe we'll do those two today. If anybody wants to hang around. If not, I absolutely understand. I am not good at reading. But we're here to practice. Just a second, I just need to grab some tissues. I'm gonna sneeze. Why is it when you try reading out loud, you always start to friggin' drool? Anyway, these were published in the early 90s, and they were $5 when they came out. Sorry about that. Graves found behind the library, Yarmouth Town, 1971. Typed by Joanne Knox. In the early 1960s, all that could be seen where the present Isaac Walton Killam Library stands today was an empty, grassy field that extended from Main Street into the easterly direction towards the present-day Parade Lane. It was a peaceful area, which few people would ever believe was a location of a controversy dating back to the beginning of the town of Yarmouth. On the site was the old Yarmouth Baptist House and the Baptist Meeting Society. But even though the bodies of their church members lie buried on the property, and that they had erected an early church, there was a question whether or not they were legally entitled to occupy the property. Then, on January 31st, 1829, General Sir Peregrine Maitland, Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia, was petitioned by the propriety of the Baptist Meeting House at Yarmouth. This petition traced their history of the fascinating piece of property and stated the controversy into this piece of property, which continued for more than 230 years. Yeah, this is going to be a long... I do this for practice because I do need to practice reading aloud. My apologies in advance. The petition read, "In the year of our Lord, 1767, the township of Yarmouth was guaranteed to 150 persons in the shares of 666 acres each, reserving shares throughout the township in the division to be disappointed of the public use by the Governor, Lieutenant General, or Commander-in-Chief for the time being. Before the date of the grant, a piece of ground on the east side of Cape Virtue Harbor was pitched upon and used as a public burial ground. Sometime after, when the township was divided, the situation occupied as a burial ground was included as one of the lot reserved for public use. At that period, the inhabitants considered that these lands were reserved by the government to be devoted to the interests of the religion. Under this, the Congregationalists erected a commodious meeting house upon this same lot, which was occupied by them for a short time and has ever since been in the possession of the Baptists. In the year 1806, the Honorable Charles Morse, Surveyor General of the province, in an order for survey of the township of Yarmouth, stated that he wished a return made of the governor's lot, marking particularly the place where Tristram Studley was settled, as it was the intention of the governor, Sir George Provost, I remember why I stopped doing these, to give him a license of occupation. Some years previous to the date of the ordain, Studley had gotten into his possession the rear part of the lot and remained still. In making returns agreeable to this order, the part in possession of the Baptist was marked off and described in the plan hereunto and annexed. ANNEXED. In the year 1807, an order came out from government to assess part of the reserved land as church glebe and part of the site of schools. About the same time, private individuals obtained grants for some of them, in assessing other lots according to the order, the particular lot on which the Baptist Meeting House stands, and part of which was used as a public burial ground, walled in by society, was assigned as church glebe. The propriety of the meeting house began in the possession. The house being in the possession of the front of the lot were designed by the church warden to give it up. Ooh, I can do this. This they refused to do, but a part of the proprietors consented to relinquish their claim to be part of the front lot. I will never be one of those voices you hear reading books for money. That's not going to happen. Okay. The Baptists comprised more than 3/5 of the population in the town and possessed a feeling in common with all mankind to keep sacred the ground where their deceased friends are buried. Your petition, therefore, humbly pray that their petition may be taken into consideration and such order made thereon for confirming and quieting their possession possession to the front of the lot, if it can be done agreeably to the law of the realm, and if not, to the northern half of the plan so annexed. And your petitioners, as in duty bound, will ever pray. In all, 141 signatures appear on the document. On the margin was written, "The Baptists have never had any land granted to them in this township." It appeared that the petition was well received and the land was granted to the Baptists, because shortly thereafter, a magnificent church with a spire reaching 120 feet above the land was erected on the site. Yarmouth Free Baptist Church, which burned at the turn of the century, boasted a magnificent spire reaching about 120 feet into the air. Behind the church was its cemetery. Sometime after the church burned, maybe when this cenotaph was erected, the stones that graced the Free Baptist Church cemetery were removed by persons unknown. This has been the topic of considerable disagreement in the town. I am reading A Matter of Mayhem. I'm reading a couple of stories out of there today because I need to work on my reading out loud. And we are reading the graves found behind the library. Okay, where were we? Maybe we'll just do the one story because I think that'll be it for me. All right. Where was the beginning of the sentence? Okay. Was there actually a cemetery behind, or really to the side of the church, as was suggested in the site plans? Or was the Baptist burying grounds or cemetery to the acre known as Frost Park today? Does the present-day Main Street go over the bones of our first settlers? The answer is yes. I did research. When the construction of the new Isaac Walton Library commenced in 1964, there were rumors circulating in the town that the bones had been dug up during the excavation of the building. It was further reported that some of these bones and bits of coffin had turned up in loads of fill taken from the site. But this had never been established in fact. However, it was this year that a carrion, C-A-I-R-N, was erected behind the cemetery in memory of those people who were buried in the immediate area. Some of these stones were apparently built into the care. I don't know what that word is. Then, early August 1971, an article was published in the Yarmouth Vanguard, Columbia, Cabbage and Kings, suggesting that there was a possibility that a parking lot was planned to be built behind the library. The columnist suggested that this Yarmouth retail merchant did not seem to mind that this parking lot would be right on top of the cemetery. In 1971, all that could be seen in this grassy field was a cairn that had been erected shortly after the construction of the Isaac Walton Kiln Library. In this cairn, C-A-I-R-N, were a number of gravestones which had been found on the site. But were there more? Shortly after that report, a number of curious Yarmouth High School students began to search the large grassy field located behind the library. In 1972, the field was filled with waist-high grass and was often a gathering point for young people. One town council felt that the grass should be cut so that as to expose what was going on in the area. As a result of the mowing of the field, they noted that there were a number of depressions in the field which resembled graves. These depressions were in a uniform fashion scattered throughout the field. The students extended their search to the fence, which bordered on the southeast and north side of the field. Back in the far south corner, They found 10 stones that were partially hidden by weeds, shrubs, and mud. They cleaned away the debris and moved the stones out into the open. The stones were piled on top of each other, with the smaller ones placed on underneath the mound. However, the students were convinced that there were many more gravestones than the 10 they initially found in the pile by the south fence. Using a crowbar, they carefully tapped around the initial site. In less than 50 minutes, the iron bar had struck what appeared to be a large stone area or structure about 4 inches below the surface. Immediately, the students began to dig the area. After 2 hours of digging, they had found nearly 25 gravestones. It is believed that at one time that these gravestones were magnificent monuments to the early founders of this community. At least one of them appeared to be made of pure white marble, now covered with the grime of many decades, hidden under the ground. Another stone, which appeared to be well over 5 feet tall, had clear-cut letters carved into its dark, smooth, impressive surface. Several of the stones had been broken into 2 or 3 more pieces. After examining these, it was believed that in some instances, the names may have been deliberately broken off. After the stones were uncovered, the students carefully cleaned the stones as best they could under the circumstances. Dirt was caked on the stones, several inches thick with overgrown moss, which many of the letters worn away. Some of the stones could be read, others could not be read due to damage. Some of these were: in memory of George J. Gowdy, born March 31st, 1818, died June 16th, 1860. In memory of Joshua Ann, J-E-R-U-S, Joshua Ann, wife of George G. Gowdy, who died January 24th, 1865, in the 34th year of her age. In memory of Tabitha, wife of Mahon, that's not right. Patch, who died February 2nd, 1846, at age 68. Scared to the memory of Wealthy Anne, daughter of Ebenezer and Elizabeth Porter, who died 3rd June 1837 in the year of her age. In memory of Thomas Trask, who died June 7th, 1831, age 17. In memory of Joseph Nickerson, who died November 24th, 1849, age 75. In memory of Minor Huntington, who died April 20th, 1839, at 76 years. And finally, Hannah, wife of David Landers, died August 1st, 1859, age 72. On number of stones, the students read the inscription. On numbers of stones, the students read the inscription of one stone, which was erected by the widow of Zachary Corning, who died 1833. There were at least 2 monuments to members of the Crocker family. There were several in memory of the Crosby and Gowdy families, and another one to the Jeffreys, Kendricks, Dan, and the Hubbards family members. Reflecting back 23 years, the students were angry that someone had treated many of the more notable early families of Yarmouth. Reflecting back 23 years, the students were angry that someone had treated many of the more notable early families of Yarmouth badly. I don't think the English class was involved in this. Back then, the question, who was responsible for these desecrations? But the decision But the decision makers of the day ignored for most part their request. After all, they were just groups of curious students. Mayor Fred Eamon was very concerned about this, and eventually the stones were moved behind the Yarmouth County Museum on Collins Street. They remained there for several years until the Yarmouth Public Library, the owner of the property, erected a monument which encased all of the remaining stones. But the students were convinced that the stones had to be placed in the far corner by someone who evidently had no respect for the dead, or someone who was trying to hide these stones for some reason. Was there someone who was malicious enough to completely demolish a graveyard? No one would ever guess that the large field behind the library was once a graveyard. Research at the museum library showed that Hannah, wife of Dave, was a granddaughter of C.L. Landers, one of Yarmouth's first settlers. Minor Huntington was a prominent citizen, born in Connecticut in 1763 and came here in 1784 to 1785. His strong mental talent and admirable disposition won him public confidence, consequently held many public positions in the town. He died in 1834 at the age of 76. Even after there had been no prior citizens buried there, it was still terribly wrong to take the tombstones and haul them off to the obscure corner of the lot. But the people Patch, Crocker, Potter, Chipman, Trask, Corning, and Gaddy were all well-known citizens. Their history can be found in the Yarmouth genealogical records. And what about the descendants of these people? Aren't they somewhat responsible to what will happen next? Should they have fought against the proposed parking lot? Some people have responded to the fact that they should have protested towards the construction of the parking lot. In 1974, the students suggested in a little magazine, the Runic Report, that it was next to impossible to restore the stones to their proper places, but perhaps a monument could have been erected with their names on it, but the gravestones should not be hidden from the public. Is there any way to honor the sturdy settlers who worked so hard to improve this town? Whoever was responsible should be ashamed of their actions. To be shoved in the dark corner, forgotten corner, this is a fitting end. To be shoved into the dark, forgotten corner, is this a fitting end for those monuments of these worthy people? With the expansion of the Isaac Killam Library in 1980s, a monument was erected in 1989 encompassing these stones, and through pieces of others found in the area. It is interesting that this new addition to the library is on a concrete slab and not a full basement. Maybe the work of these high school students 15 years earlier may have had some influence after all. Whew! I am not good at reading anymore. Do I want to do another one? Not this one, so I'm just going to leave it with the library for today, and maybe I'll do another story tomorrow. But yeah, that was Gravestone Behind the Library. Alright, well, that was embarrassing, but thanks for stopping by anyway, guys. Yeah.